Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you listen me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, okay. I'm sorry for a little late because I had another meeting going on. Okay. Today, as a part of permeability discussion, I'll start with the new discussion that is called principle of effective stress and capillarity. So I'll start this new discussion. Well, friends, like we had seen in the initial lectures about the three-phase system of the soil, you imagine that suppose you have a soil mass which has water, and about this three-phase, that discussion is already over long back, but what happens in terms of the effective stress? For this, let us try to imagine, let us say there is a glass jar in which, let us say, you fill water up to here. Then you start pouring soil. You start pouring soil. You start pouring soil into it. Now soil will, you keep on pouring the soil. So a stage will come when the soil will be filled up, let us say, up to here. So we can say that the soil below this water is saturated soil. It shall be saturated soil, and it can be dry soil. It can be dry soil. Now, let us say the dry soil is up to height H1, and below this H1, this is all saturated soil. Now, we are talking of the effective stresses in the soil mass, and of course the capillarity also. Now, what happens to the effective stress? Stresses which are generated into this type of soil model. For this, what I suggest is you choose any section. You choose any section. Let us say it is a XX section. And this is XX section. When you take a hypothetical or just a imaginary section XX, it will cut the soil particles like this. There will be some soil particles which are being drawn here by me on a magnified scale. For the sake of understanding the effective stresses, I have chosen a section like this. Now, let us say this section is at H2 depth, like this. Now, firstly we will see what will be the vertical stresses at at any point O O at this section. So let us say O is any point. This is O. So the vertical stress sigma shall be equal to H1 into gamma D. Gamma D is the unit weight of dry soil, plus H2 into gamma saturated, because within the H2 this is saturated soil. Now, what about the capillarity? Let me try to explain you capillarity in this manner that suppose at this XX section, you attach a capillary tube. This is green one is the capillary tube. You know it because you all are science graduates, science students, I mean. You will agree with me that in this capillary tube, the water will rise up to this level, because this is the water level. So water will rise only up to this level. So you can see yourself that the water rises up to this level only when you attach a stand pipe, or let us say capillary tube, at this section XX. Now friends, there is one instrument that is called pressure cell. That is called pressure cell. Pressure cell is a very sophisticated equipment. Generally, we prefer the imported pressure cells, Japanese make. Suppose you fix a pressure cell here at this section. This pressure cell will give you how much is the pressure, actual pressure at this section XX, and you will see that mathematically whatever values are given by this equation 1, the same values shall be shown by this pressure cell if it is attached at the XX section. Now coming back to this vertical stress is given by this relationship, that it is the gamma z. Z means any depth. But if soil is partly moist, partly dry, then we can split the moist area and the dry area, and the vertical stress is given by this very equation. You should always remember it. Now friends, we can say that the total stress, it has two parts. One part is due to water, one part is due to water, or we can say due to pour water, due to pour water, due to water, or say pour water, and it is called neutral stress, and it is represented by small u. And mathematically, u is taken simply as H2 into unit weight of water, gamma W. So this is, say, equation 2. Why we call it neutral stress? Reason is very simple, that if any soil particle present here in this area is in saturated condition, then that very particle is surrounded by water from all the directions. So therefore, it will not be subjected to any specific stress. That's why we call it neutral stress. Secondly, it does not apply any pressure to the adjacent particle. So any soil particle which is surrounded by water, that does not apply any pressure to the adjacent particles. So that's why we call it the neutral stress. And mathematically, U is defined as H2 into gamma W. The other part of this sigma is due to due to soil skeleton. Please switch off your. You mute yourself. I should not listen anybody's voice, please. All of you are requested to please mute yourself. So the this is the other part of this sigma is due to the soil skeleton only, and this is called effective stress. It is called effective stress. So we can say that sigma is equal to the effective stress plus u, or we can say that effective stress, either sigma bar or sigma dash, whatever you want you can write, is equal to sigma minus u. So this is say equation 3. This is equation 3. So this equation 3, this is called effective stress equation. Effective stress equation. Equation 3 is called effective stress equation. So if I combine equation 1, 2 and 3, we can write that this is equal to sigma minus u, and sigma value is given as h1 gamma d plus h2 gamma saturated minus h2 into gamma w. Or we can simplify it that this is equal to h1 gamma d plus h2 is common, gamma saturated minus gamma w. And this relationship, this is depicted as equal to gamma dash also. Gamma dash, this is called, gamma dash is called submerged unit weight. Submerged unit weight of soil. Submerged unit weight of soil. So we can say that sigma bar is equal to h1 gamma d plus h2. So this is say equation number 4. Now friends, if there is no water, if the soil is 100% dry, then obviously for dry soil u will be 0. Hence equation 3 will be sigma will be equal to same as effective stress, because water is not there. It is pure dry soil. Now, what is the physical meaning of effective stress? What is the physical meaning of the stress, effective stress? Now, in the previous figure, I had taken a section. This XX. And in this XX section, I had explained you that let us arbitrarily choose any section which is passing through the soil grains, and if we draw any straight line, then we can say that there will be some grains. Through the body of them, this straight line will pass, XX will pass. So for the sake of further understanding, what we can do, let me draw a magnified figure in which We will draw this XX section in such a manner that it does not cut any soil grain from the center, or from, it does not cut the body of the individual grain. Now, yesterday I had used one term many times in my discussion, and previously also I had discussion, that porosity means what? When the soil is permitting any water to pass through it, then water always searches its path. That path may not be straight tube. And yesterday I said that we presume that there are infinite number of tubes through which the water ultimately comes out of the soil mass. So we can very well be convinced now that XX section cannot be a straight line. It has to be a curvilinear line. This is the XX line, which essentially must have these soil grains like this. Means soil grains, some are just below this, but XX curvilinear section is not cutting any single grain of the soil. So grains will be like this. It will be like this. It will be like this. It will be like this also. Right? It will be like this also. Like this also. Means this XX section is not cutting any single grain. Now, what is the effective stress? Effective stress means when there is pore water present into the soil mass, obviously the soil particles are subjected to some intergranular stresses in between them. These are the intergranular stresses. So here also there will be some intergranular stress through which these soils particles are, behaving like a cohesive soil mass. So water ultimately provides a sort of lubrication, and there is a sort of adhesion within the soil grains. So we can say that this is the intergranular stress, and intergranular stress, and this is, let us say, is the normal component. This is a normal component. This is a normal component, and then there can be tangential stresses, T. So just try to understand that this is the scenario. Now one more figure let me draw. Let us say this is the figure, which is the sectional plan of the contact area of the soil mass. Contact area along the x-axis. So these are the soil grains. These are the soil grains. And let the area of contact of soil grain is represented as AS. Total area is, let us say, A. Total area is A. And AS is what? AS is the area of contact. Area of contact of soil grains. That is called AS. That is called AS. So effective stress is defined as is summation of contact forces divided by the gross area. Now refer to this figure. This A is the total area, right? So I can say that effective stress sigma bar can be mathematically defined as summation of n dash divided by the gross area, that is A. And what is the total normal stress? Total normal stress. मेरे fan चला दो. Total normal stress sigma, that is defined as equal to P upon A. P upon A. What is P? Let me define in this figure. P is this force. P is this force. And A, I have already defined. A is this area. A is this area. Now, we should not forget that the pore water pressure acts only over the void area, because voids are filled up with the soil. So the hydrostatic force is equal to the water pressure, hydrostatic force is equal to the pore water pressure U multiplied by U multiplied by area of pores, AW. Now, for equilibrium conditions, in normal to XX plane, P will be equal to summation of stresses this is equation 7, this is equation 6, or P upon A is like this is equation 8. Or we can say this is already defined by me, that this is equal to sigma, and this is defined as sigma bar plus U times this is AW upon A. This is equation 9. And if AW is equal to A, I mean it is fully submerged, then we can say that this will be this one. This is say equation 10. Now let us try to understand a little more about the capillaries. Yes, please.
So when we said that it is fully saturated, then too we have the part
Fully submerged.
fully
I said
submerged.
submerged.
So fully submerged, then how AW equal to A?
I mean, this is AW I have defined as area of pores.
Okay.
AW, right. So in that very special case, this will be equal to 1.
Okay, sir.
Now next is the capillarity in soils. Now friends, please mute yourself, please. I should not listen anybody's voice. Please mute yourself. Okay. Now friends, ultimately from where the groundwater comes. I request all the students, please mute yourself, mute your mic. Otherwise, I will not take any class. Please, are you not listening me? Who is speaking? Who is this student? Okay, so groundwater ultimately comes from due to rainfall water. So rainfall is the major component due to which the capillarity or capillary forces are generated into the ground. So this rainfall, you already know what is the nature cycle, that groundwater comes from number one, phreatic or gravitational water, and next, secondly, it comes from capillary water. Groundwater comes from phreatic or gravitational water, and then capillary water, which occurs in two distinct zones demarcated by water table of phreatic surface. Now, what do I mean? Let us say this figure. Let us say this figure. So, this is free water surface. Free water surface. This is any natural ground level, and this is the rainfall. Rainfall. So there is a surface flow. Surface flow. उसको कनेक्ट नहीं किया क्या? उसका चार्जर देना. Then due to this, there is a percolation. There is a percolation of surface flow. Then this is the water table. This is the water table. This is the water table. Now, this is called percolating water. Percolating water plus capillary water. And this is called phreatic water. Phreatic water or gravitational water, or it is called gravitational water. So gravitational water, this is subject to, gravitational forces. Subject to gravitational forces. So what does it do? This saturates the voids of the soil completely, and it generates the internal pore water pressure, which is greater than the atmospheric pressure, and it flows in the lateral direction. So this is called phreatic flow. It's called phreatic flow. It is called phreatic flow. It is called phreatic flow. It is called phreatic flow. Who is speaking? Who is speaking like this? Who is this? Who is this? ये कौन बोल रहा है? किसकी आवाज मुझे आ रही है? Who is speaking? Who is speaking like this? Who is speaking? Who is this nonsense person? Who is this nonsense student? I want the name of this. Who is this person who is speaking like this? So this figure is very important to understand the capillarity phenomenon. सनी कौन है? So this is the upper surface, or this is the, the water table line. This has the atmospheric pressure as 0. So here you see this line, you should remember that this is the water table at which the atmospheric pressure is 0. Now this figure itself is self-explanatory to understand that what is the capillarity, what is phreatic line, what is the phreatic surface, and how these forces act onto the soil due to the pore water pressure. Now the capillary water in soil is held above water table due to surface tension. Now, if you refer this figure, obviously, if water table is like this, due to this water table, the soil in the immediate vicinity of this will be moist soil, and this moisture shall come due to capillary action of this water. Due to capillary and due to the voids present into the soil, the water will travel upwards. And remember one thing, that water travels fast through the fine voids. So this is due to what? Due to surface tension. Due to surface tension, the water moves upward. Reason is that water is in contact with the soil mass, which is in immediate contact with that, and there is a attraction force which is developed between the water and the soil particles due to the presence of water, and at the interface between the different grains, the the stresses are generated and the surface tension is generated, and due to the surface tension, the water easily travels upward. Now, this can further be understood like this, that you consider a jar. This jar is full of water. So this jar is full of water, and you insert a glass tube. Now let us say this point is O. So let us say water travels up to HC height. Now this is water. I have already shown the glass tube. Now, if I draw the magnified figure at this location, so this is the magnified figure, this is the glass tube, and this is glass tube, and water is traveling upward, and water will form a meniscus. So this is the meniscus. 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 And meniscus is, this meniscus is in concave shape like this. This is in the downward. Now, if you draw a force diagram, let us say this makes an angle alpha, and this is the tension force T. I have already explained surface tension. What is surface tension? I have already explained. Now, let us say this radius of this meniscus is radius Rm. Now, one thing you should appreciate, let us small d is the diameter of this, and water, this is water which has traveled upwards. Weight of water is, let us say, W. Just try to understand that water will rise in the to up to the height till the surface tension is almost equal to the weight of water which has traveled upward. So, because water which is moving upward, that will have some weight. So long the surface tension is higher than the weight of water, the water will keep on moving upward. The moment it is almost equal, so water will stand up to that height. And the top surface of the water will make a meniscus like this. Remember one thing, that if other than water, if it was mercury, then this meniscus would have been in this direction. Mercury makes the meniscus in the convex upward, but water makes the meniscus with the shape convex downward. Now, if I draw the free body diagram of this phenomena, let us say this is the neutral pressure. It is the neutral pressure U, neutral pressure U. It has gone up to the height HC. It has moved up till the height HC, and in the downward side, pore water pressure, the weight of the water is gamma W into Z. This is the neutral pressure. So the surface tension is in the upward direction. Surface tension is in, say, in this direction. So this is the tension. And let us say in the vertical direction, it is minus Z, and in the downward direction, it is plus Z. So this is plus side, this is minus side. Surface, we have taken minus because water is moving against the gravity. That's why we have taken minus sign here. So this is the free body diagram of this. Now, if we draw the mathematical equation for this phenomena, it will be HC height into pi by 4 d square. D is already defined by me, into gamma W. So it is the volume multiplied by unit weight. It will be the weight. This will be equal to pi into D into T cos alpha into T cos alpha. I mean in the vertical direction. So this is the surface tension, and this is the weight of the water. So I had already explained you that till these are equal, the water will keep on rising. So at that stage, this equation shall be valid. So here T is the surface tension, and this has the unit force per unit length. Per unit length. So if it is pure water, then alpha can be 0, and then from the above equation we can say that Hc will be equal to 4 times of T upon gamma W into D. So T here, T is the physical property of water. Physical property of water. And its value is normally 73 dynes per centimeter, or it can be equal to 73 into 10 raised to the power minus 8 kN, kilonewton per centimeter. And gamma W, already we know that it is 19.81 kN per cubic meter. So this above equation, Hc, if you substitute these values, it will be 0.3 upon D centimeter, or we can say that Hc is equal to 0.03 upon D mm. So this equation gives you the value up to which the water can rise into a glass tube. So it's a very good equation that way to understand that up to how much height the capillary tube, in the capillary tube the water can rise. Now friends, this is the basic equation we have understood. This is a basic question we have understood. So in this very figure, O point I had already defined. So if I further write that I can write that the pressure increases linearly with depth, so that at a depth below point O, its magnitude is Z times gamma W. And above this point, pressure is negative, that is less than atmospheric. Less than atmospheric pressure. Thus we can say that the water is supposed to be in tension. So its value UW at height Hc above O is given as अच्छा अच्छा So UW is equal to minus sign
Request for
HC
transfer
into
signed by
gamma W.
state fourth installment.
And if, because earlier we had seen that HC is equal to 4T upon gamma W into T, so it will be equal to minus 4T upon T.
8 जुलाई बाद मत जाना, 8 जुलाई बाद कोई हुई है दिसंबर में 21 से हो रहा चाहिए, मतलब दिसंबर तक देना चाहिए।
So this is the basic equations for understanding the capillarity and the effective stresses into the soil mass.
यार 12 महीना
So I will stop here today. I could have taken 5 minutes more, but because some voice is coming, I don't know who is speaking. You please ensure yourself that who is speaking, who is this nonsense person who is speaking like this. It is a technical class going on. This first time in my life I am seeing. Who is this person? Can somebody tell me who is the likely person? Who is this person? Please unmute yourself and tell me who is this man.
हाँ सही है
Sir, try muting him yourself. You could actually mute him by from the software. As you are the host.
Can you tell me the likely name of this person?
लैपटॉप के बारे में
Sir, the sound is coming and is being highlighted in this whole display.
No,
We can't judge who is speaking actually.
I am not seeing your faces, you see, because I hide the faces. Otherwise, the entire screen will be filled up. I can't write anything. But this is really, I mean, highly shameful. It's highly disgraceful. Anyway, next time if this thing occurs, I will not take any class. I will report to the dean. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
फोन के
And
बारे में
today's lecture, I am not.